All right, let's continue with Qoheleth, chapter 4, verse 17. Now, I will just read it, scan through it, and then we will translate. Just realized I didn't have my fan on. Oh, no, don't make noises. Better. All right, let's see. So, shmor, raglekha, רגליך, kaasher teileikh, el beit ha'elohim, וקרוב לשמוע, miteit haksilim, zavach, ki einam יודעים לעשות ra. Our banner got there, a little bit covering the letters there. Let me drop our Patreon banner down a bit. Which, by the way, special thanks to those of you who contribute to the work that we do here. I really appreciate it. It does make a difference. When you contribute, it makes it possible for these things to keep being made. Help us to keep making content. So there are different ways to contribute. You can join my Patreon community at patreon.com/Hebrew Literacy, or you can join us over at buymeacoffee.com/Hebrew Literacy. But if that's the place where if you're going to do monthly payments over there, then let me know so I can get you the special materials in a separate way, as I don't have it set up over there yet. And there's others that give directly through PayPal at paypal.me. That's me. Make sure it's me and not com/Hebrew Literacy. Or if you're in the Philippines, you can just send to PayMaya. You can send a gift to PayMaya. Just send it to @Hebrew, and a Hebrew will receive it. All right. Sorry, wimpy joke. Let's get to translating. Qoheleth, that's Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 17. And it came to my attention that some translations say chapter 5, verse 1. I don't know why. I looked at the Septuagint, and at least the Septuagint that I checked, it's also 4, verse 17. So I'm not sure when the changing it to chapter 5 started. So in case you can't find it, that's what's going on. Okay. Shmor. Oh man, I hope I had the mouse on the right page when I was reading. Shmor. Maybe I'll just look here to be safe. Shmor. Shin mem resh. You guys know this. Like someone who is a shomer Shabbat, someone who's a Sabbath keeper, right? Or shomer mitzvot, someone who keeps the commandments. Like is spoken of in the book of Revelation, that the beast will make war on the ones who keep the commandments of God. The shomerei mitzvot, keepers of the commandments. Those are the ones who the beast will go after. Raglekha, the feet of you. So from raglayim, resh gimel lamed, regel is a foot, and raglayim are feet. Drop the mem, put on the cha, and that's how you say your feet. Shmor. So this is an imperative. It's a command form. And maybe I'll zoom in a bit for those of you on smaller devices. That's, there we go. I think that will be helpful. There. Okay. Shmor, safeguard, protect. Raglekha, the feet of you. Kaasher, kaf, aleph, shin, resh, according to how, or just how maybe, teileikh. So if you're watching the presentation, I have a hay that I drew up in the air with a circle around it, showing that this is the verb halach, or halach. And you've actually lost the hay. And we have a tav at the beginning, te, that's saying you will halach. So you walk. Since this is biblical Hebrew and not modern, it doesn't necessarily mean you will walk. It can mean you are walking or you walk, like generally present continuous. It's an imperfect verb. And the reason there's a dagesh in the tav, it's not because there's something stuck in there. That is not a strong dagesh. It's, if you remember, our begad kefat mnemonic. Those are the letters that take a dagesh, a dot in them, when there's no vowel sound closely preceding them. And so this is the beginning of the word. And the previous word ended in a resh, so there's no way there's a vowel sound preceding closely this tav as a begad kefat, that's beit gimel dalet. kaf, pei, tav, all those letters. So he gets the dagesh there. Okay, that's what's happening. Teileikh, you walk. El, aleph lamed, unto. Beit ha Elohim. So this is a construct chain. And when we have a construct chain, when the last word is definite, it makes the whole chain definite. Only two words in this chain. So the ha in ha Elohim, the God, we're going to apply the Venus, the definiteness of that, to the first word, beit. So beit, it's from beit. Beit yod tav. Beit means house. Beit, same word, but in the construct form. Beit means house of. And because the second word has ha, we're going to say, as if there's ha here, the beit, the house of ha Elohim, of the God, the house of the God, to be hyperliteral, or the house of God, you could say. So be careful when you walk into the house of God. Next word, ve'karov, ve'karov. That's kuf, resh, cholim vav, beit, from the verb karav, which is to draw near, to approach. Now, this is an infinitive absolute, okay, which is kind of like a wild card. It can mean all kinds of stuff. It can be like a command. It can mean being used like a finite verbal form. It can have all kinds of different meanings there. So we can understand this as drawing near, the karov, drawing near. Like, so in that case, the kaasher above might be when, teileikh, when you go, el beit ha-Elohim, to the house of God. And Dr. Seow points out in his commentary that the beit ha-Elohim, this is terminology for beit hamikdash, the temple, which is used in Second Temple times even. It continues. So now the karov, it could also be like I told you, the infinitive absolute. This is a sneaky beast. He can be all kinds of things. So this could actually be oops, sorry, trying to move the background. An imperative. Oh, hey, that's not what I wanted. Okay, fix that. This could even be an imperative, right? So approach, lishmo'a, to hear or to obey. Miteit, that's min plus tate. This is kind of hard to recognize what's going on here. So we have another infinitival form from the verb natan. And if you're a visual learner, I've written it up above, natan. The tate is the infinitival form of natan. You just have to know that. Why the strong dagesh in the first tav? That's because the word min, we have a contraction where min tate became mit tate. The noon assimilated, and if you're looking, the noon sofit I drew. There's a line connecting it to the strong dagesh, the dagesh forte, because he's inside. So min tate became mit tate, even though we will just read it miteit. So from giving, haksilim. Ha is the, and a kasil, this is a fool, a fool. So there's different ways to understand this then. It could be like karov lishmo'a, like approach to listen, like, or when you approach to hear, i.e., to obey, to learn when you're at the temple. Or it could be that we have a mem of comparison here. So it could be approaching to listen rather than giving of the fools. Zavach. Zavach. So what is zavach? Zayin beit chet. Zavach is a sacrifice. It's actually from zevach. Zevach is the way we would normally point this, but because of our friend, the etnachta, the little wishbone, that guy, because of, oops, we can't reach there. There. Because of the etnachta, that changes the the short vowel to the long vowel ah. So we have zavach. Zavach. Ki because einam, there is not them. Yode'im, knowing, from the verb yada, to know, to understand. La'asot, to do. Ra, reish ayin, evil. So that's kind of dicey. It's kind of strange that the mem is there. That doesn't quite feel. It's a little elusive, a little bit problematic. It's not extra clear what Qoheleth is saying here, or rather what this version of the manuscript is saying here. So let's look and see what some commentators have to say. So let's see. Rabbi Fox says, more acceptable is obedience than the offering of fools. Okay, I could see how you get that, but it's still kind of mangled to get there, right? He's interpreting drawing near as being accepted, right? Some kind of acceptance. So, and then lisho'a, which is infinitive, to listen, right? He's understanding that abstractly as obedience, right? So drawing near to listen, that's, and the vav, I don't even know what you do with that. So more acceptable is drawing near to listen than, that's the mem of comparison, than giving of the fools a sacrifice. How did he interpret that? Then the offering of fools, that's fine. And he writes, as Samuel said, surely obedience is better than sacrifice, compliance than the fat of rams. 1 Samuel 15:22. Obedience is both in both verses is shmor, literally here. The word fools is strictly speaking superfluous, since obedience is better than anyone's offerings. Qoheleth is focusing on what fools do without intending to restrict the principle to their offerings alone. And then he continues on to translate this next part, let me zoom out here. The ki einam, for there's not them, yode'im, knowing, la'asot, to do, ra. What it means is there is not anything except, for they know nothing except yode'im, right? Ki einam, for literally there is not them, yode'im, knowing. So they know not, la'asot, to do ra. What Qoheleth is saying is kind of in a terse form. They don't know to do anything except evil, right? The haksilim, the evil one. A kaasher is someone who is ignorant of the Torah. Let's see what Rabbi Fox translates. For they know nothing, and then but in brackets, to do wrong. Okay, yeah, good. That's exactly what we were thinking. Rashi paraphrases, for the fool does not understand that he is doing harm to himself. But this too does not fit the Hebrew. The line has not yet been satisfactorily explained. He's saying that, yeah, okay, good. Let's see what Seow has to say. So let's see. Seow writes, it is more acceptable. The form karov may be analyzed as an adjective or an infinitive absolute in light of the frequent juxtaposition of the imperative karav with the imperative or infinitive of shema, and he gives verses. It is reasonable to posit that karov here is the infinitive absolute substituting for the imperative. And there's some reference to some grammars. The normal imperative, kerav, thus meaning draw near, parentheses, to listen. And he mentions some of the ancient versions that render it with an imperative force. Like I did initially, I said, draw near, right? I shared with you that the infinitive absolute can be an imperative. The infinitive absolute of karav is not attested anywhere, however, and the comparative min in miteit, that's right over here, miteit, makes this reading problematic. In light of the comparative min, the presence of which is confirmed by the ancient version, some commentators have assumed an ellipsis with tov as the unexpressed element in the thought of the writer. Thus, it is better to draw near than to obey, but apart from the need to assume an ellipsis, the syntax of the verse is awkward. Yeah, it is. With the juxtaposition of an infinitive absolute and a prefixed infinitive construct. It is easier to take karov as an adjective meaning presentable, right? Like drawing near, okay? Or acceptable. And he says the NJPS does that. This meaning of the adjective is attested in 1 Kings 8:59. Let these my words, which with which I plead before Yod-Heh Waw-Heh, the acceptable, kerobim to Yod-Heh Waw-Heh. So that's 1 Kings 8:59. Interesting argument. He continues to give heed. Comparison of this verse with 1 Samuel 15:22 has prompted translators to interpret lishmo'a here as referring to obedience, right? Like I mentioned, it can be to obey here or obey. Qoheleth's emphasis is not on obedience, however, but on attention and caution before God. Moreover, in the verses that follow, Qoheleth warns against hasty promises and excessive speech. In contrast to the approach of noisy fools, it is better that one should listen rather than speak. This understanding of lishmo'a is consistent with the usage of shema elsewhere in the book, where the verb always means to listen or to give heed and never to obey. Okay, interesting. That's Dr. Seow's opinion on this. And he goes on to say, then for the fools to give sacrifice. Literally, then the fools giving a sacrifice. Okay. For they do not recognize that they are doing evil. Interesting, he translated recognize, for that they do not know. I guess that's within the nuancing. Okay, I'm not going to read all that. There's a lot he wrote there. So, okay, you guys have any comments or questions? Let's go through. Again, this time you try to translate before I finish. Shmor, imperative force. Protect. Raglekha, your feet. Your feet. Kaasher, probably meaning when here, now that we've gone through a few times. But you could say according to how. When. Teileikh, you go, you halach. El, Aleph Lamed, unto beit ha-Elohim, the house of God. Or literally, the house of the God. The karov, literally, and approach. But we already went through all the different ways you can understand that. Lishmo'a, to hear. Miteit, from giving, or then giving, of haksilim, the fools. Zavach, a zavach, a sacrifice. So you gotta massage it how you will. Like, this is why Seow was saying it seems like there's missing a tov, right? If it said tov karov lishmoa, then that would mean it's better to approach to listen min than tate haksilim zavach, than the giving of fools a sacrifice. I don't know, to me that feels like that flows a lot better than any of the other ones we tried, right? But you can also go with acceptable. Acceptable is doing what Hashem wants, whether it's more, right? Seow made the argument that he thinks in Qoheleth, Shema is usually meaning literally to listen or to hearken, like to give in to what someone wants, which is kind of similar to obeying, right? I'm not really sure why he's splitting hairs there. Miteit, then the giving of haksilim, of the fools, a zavach, that's a zevach. Zayin beit chet, a sacrifice. Ki einam, for ein, there is not them, yode'im, understanding or knowing, as Seow says, recognizing, la'asot, to do ra. So it's like there is nothing else, ki einam, there's nothing else, yode'im, that they know, than to do ra, evil, right? Or they do not recognize even doing evil, as I think Rabbi Fox put it. Maybe that fits better. Ki einam, for there is not them, yode'im, recognizing, la'asot, doing evil. So even when they're doing ra, they don't even realize it. Okay, I'll read through one more time, then we'll be finished. We went a bit longer on this lesson, a little bit shorter on the last one. It all works out. shmor raglekha kaasher teileikh el beit ha-Elohim. Dekarov lishmo'a miteit haksilim zavach. Ki einam yode'im la'asot ra. All right, we are finished with chapter 4 of Qoheleth. Yay! Or depending on your Bible, maybe the first verse of chapter 5. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you missed the premiere, please leave me comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. And I will see you guys on Shabbat. Shalom, shalom. Be well.